Okay, we are about 48 or less hours away from the first round of the NFL draft. So today I'm bringing you my final 2023 first round NFL mock draft. And I want you to kind of get the vibes I'm bringing today, okay? To me, all the mock drafts that I see where there are no trades, that's just unrealistic, right? There are going to be crazy trades on draft night. There's going to be chaos, and consider this mock draft me trying to rationalize why some of these crazy trades will happen. Last year, remember, there were 9 trades in round 1 of the 2022 NFL draft. It's not going to be chalked. It's not going to be from top to bottom. Everyone stays in the same position. Things will get wild. And in that way, I am trying to predict the chaos or even create some of my own. I have 9 trades in my first round 2023 NFL mock draft. Do me a favor, go ahead and smash that like button. This is our first real NFL mock draft of the year. So do me a favor, show some love, subscribe if you like Dynasty content. And let's start at number 1 with the Carolina Panthers. No need to overthink it. It is Bryce Young. I feel like that's pretty locked in. We don't need to spend too much time, but I think he's the perfect fit. Here at number 2, this is where the entire NFL draft hinges on. This pick right here. Everything that happens afterwards hinges on this pick. It's going to determine the way so many picks after it fall. Like, this is the butterfly effect, if you will, right? And at this moment, it is smoke screen season. And we have to see through what is real and what is just a smoke screen. Because if you think about it, some of those smoke screens serve different teams in different purposes in different ways. So here at number 2, this is how I see it, okay? If the Texans pass on a quarterback, are they really going to leave the Colts, an interdivisional rival, with the quarterback of their choice at number 4? And they're going to see that quarterback twice a year? I don't think I buy it. How about this? CJ Stroud has been locked in, not by me, but by most, as the number 1 pick in the draft since his pro day until about a week or 2 ago, right? And we haven't played any more football. There's been no more film to evaluate. He's not taken a single snap. What's changed? He's been quarterback 1 or 2 for everyone in this process outside of Mel Kiper. Shout out to Mel. But for everyone, he's been either 1 or 2. And now, a couple days up to the draft, it's changed. I don't buy it. Let's talk about the S2 tests as well. The head of the S2 cognitive tests already came out because there were these numbers that were put out on Twitter. They were spread around the internet, and he claimed that there were 2 numbers for the quarterbacks that were incorrectly reported by certain people. And he couldn't say for legal reasons if that was CJ Stroud, but it sounded pretty obvious. Like, okay, Bryce Young got a 98 or whatever, and CJ got an 18, really? Like, CJ got an 18? Who's going to benefit from that information getting out? Who wants CJ to fall? And anyway, the guy who's literally the head of that system came out and said some of these numbers are incorrect. Also, at the end of the day, what will be the bigger whiff for this coaching staff as they make their first mark on their tenure in Houston? If CJ Stroud becomes a superstar and they didn't take the quarterback, or if Will Anderson becomes a superstar, but they still have no franchise quarterback. And lastly, think about it for a second, guys. This team started Jeff Driscoll 2 games in 2022. It's embarrassing that those words have to even come out of my mouth. I have to hear that sentence out loud. But new head coach, new coaching staff. I don't think that this team is rocking with Davis Mills, and I think you'd be a fool to just see what falls to you. That has not worked for teams historically. So I think this is a smokescreen, and I believe it will still be CJ Stroud, even though Vegas has Will Levis as the best odds for the 2nd overall pick. And I think CJ is like the 5th. And I know they want a defensive player, but we'll talk about that in a second. So here at number 3, this is where we're going to have our first trade. Okay, we have the Seahawks, who are going to be trading up with the Cardinals. Obviously, the deal is around pick number 3 and pick number 5. The Cardinals are also going to get pick number 37 and 123. And Seattle will get pick number 3 and 105. And I did my best to go look at NFL draft calculators for like values for each pick and tried to make these deals as even as possible. But if you think about it, the Cardinals are in a tough spot because clearly they want to trade down, right? Kyler Murray is obviously their guy. They want to trade back down, but they don't want to miss out on Will Anderson or a blue chip player. And if you think about it, the only team that really makes sense for them to trade down to is the Seahawks. So the Seahawks can jump the Colts for the quarterback of their choice. If they trade down with, let's say, the Lions or the Raiders, they're liable to miss out on their blue chip defensive prospect. So the reports are out there, we'll make this trade, that the Seahawks are all in or want to have Anthony Richardson on the team. And I think they are the team. I'm predicting here, let's have fun, predicting here that the Seahawks will be the team that actually trades up to 3. This team is good. The Seahawks are great. They are not going to be a team that will have a top 5 pick in 2024. Unless they really think Geno is the guy to bring them all the way to the Super Bowl and to win it all, then they're not going to be in this position again. Get Anthony Richardson now for this pick that you were just gifted by the Broncos. Move up slightly with all that capital that you have and let Anthony Richardson sit for an entire year behind Geno Smith. Let him learn, hire someone, a quarterback coach who specifically works with his progress. So Anthony Richardson's a pick here. I think it could make a lot of sense. We've heard that the team is in on Anthony Richardson. And in my opinion, that is the quarterback of choice for the Indianapolis Colts. I know we've heard a lot of rumors that Will Levis is who the Colts want. Well, hey, if they miss out on the top 3 quarterbacks, here is Will Levis at pick number 4. Maybe they truly are into him, but at the end of the day, the Seahawks don't know what's real and what's false. They don't want to risk it, so they move up to grab Anthony Richardson here at pick number 3. And look at that, 4 quarterbacks off the board in the first 4 picks. That's just one of my trades, one of 9. I had a lot of fun with this mock draft. I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. But here at number 5, the Arizona Cardinals, exactly what they wanted to happen. Will Anderson is still available to them. They get their franchise defensive player here in Will Anderson. Obviously, J.J. Watt is gone. Budda Baker wants to be traded. D-Hop is going to, like, they want a complete fresh restart for this team. So we'll give them Will Anderson here at number 5. It's the perfect start for the Cardinals. And Cardinals fans, I'm sure, would be in love with this start. Here at number 6, I personally don't see a scenario in which the Lions pass on what a lot of people would believe to be the best player in this draft in Jalen Carter. We're drafting Jalen Carter here at 6 to the Detroit Lions. He had a top 30 visit with the Lions, and GM Brad Holmes, here's a quote directly from him. He said he came in and did a nice job on the visit. Again, it's always case by case. He came in, we enjoyed our time with him. He did a great job. I'll say even after he left his visit, I felt better about him. So all this talk about Jalen Carter getting out of the top 10, to me, that's been one of the easiest smokescreens to kind of target and say that's not happening. You have to determine what's real, what's not real. Jalen Carter, in my mind, is not getting out of the top 10. He's probably not getting past the Detroit Lions here at pick 6. So they get what a lot of people would say is the best defensive player, which is a need for them in this year's draft here at 6. Lions fans are probably cheering about that. Okay, here at number 7, we have the Raiders. And yes, the Raiders could take a cornerback. You know, the Raiders could take offensive linemen. But in this scenario, the Raiders are actually going to be trading. And they're going to be trading. The team coming up is the Houston Texans. Okay. So Las Vegas is going to be getting pick number 12, pick number 33, and pick number 65. On the other hand, Houston is moving up to 7, and they're also going to get number 38. So there's a pick swap here in the second round. So the Raiders move up to 33 and they get that pick 65 there to make this deal happen. So we've got the Texans trading up. There's this conversation in the building. There's this tension right now with DeMeco Ryans. Maybe DeMeco Ryans and his people say, we want that franchise defensive player. We don't want a quarterback, but other people in the building are saying, you can't pass on CJ Stroud. We can't look like idiots. Our first move can't be passing up on a good prospect at quarterback that most people love. Now everyone wins. This is the best of both worlds, right? You have the extra draft capital from the Deshaun Watson trade to kind of play around with. We're hearing people in the building are split. In this scenario, everyone is happy, right? You get your quarterback, and here at number 7, I know PFF has him quite low, but I don't think he goes any further than this. The Houston Texans draft Tyree Wilson. Texans brought Tyree in for a top 30 visit. This is the perfect fit for player and team. You get your quarterback on offense and your quarterback on defense here with Tyree Wilson. So I know some of the Texans fans might be split out there. We missed out on Will Anderson. What about this scenario? Again, I'm trying to predict the chaos, people. I'm trying to have fun with this. It's not going to look like how we all think it's going to look. I'm trying to predict that sort of chaos. So our second trade of the day, we got the Texans trading up, using some of the draft capital that they have accumulated to make DeMeco Ryans happy. And now we've got our quarterback and our edge rusher of the future. And here at number 8, we have the Atlanta Falcons, okay? Now, the Falcons did just trade for Jeff Okudah, but when you think about it, they sent really nothing for him. So it's not as if they traded a first or a second or even a third round pick, anticipating him being an important part of this team. They sent, I believe it was a 5th round pick. So at this point, Jeff Okudah, if he hits, it's a bonus for this team. It's not sort of some necessity that they're guaranteeing. I think you still want to address your cornerback position. We're going to go Devin Witherspoon here. And I know some people might say, well, why not Christian Gonzalez? Why not Christian Gonzalez? Gonzalez is actually my cornerback 1 in the class, but think about it this way. You have AJ Terrell and Jeff Okudah, who are already similar builds to Christian Gonzalez. Witherspoon, the most technically gifted, technically sound cornerback in the draft, the best in cover, the best in man. And he has the versatility to play on the outside in the boundary, but also in the nickel. I think this is a perfect fit for this team. And that secondary is looking really nice all of a sudden. Guys, I know Bijan Robinson could happen here, but I'm trying to get rid of some of the smoke screens. I would love this for fantasy if Bijan Robinson went here, but I don't know how realistic it is in today's game. I mean, name a team who has spent a top 10 pick on a running back that has won the Super Bowl in the last 20 years. You know, what's the percentage of those teams? I bet you would be quite low. And with the Falcons here, guess what? They didn't struggle to run the ball last year, right? They ran the ball pretty damn efficiently. They struggled to stop people. In fact, they were down like 3-4 touchdowns in games in the second half, and they were still running the ball. So I think the defense is what we need to improve, even though they've already made some very drastic improvements thus far. Okay, here at number 9, the Chicago Bears. Could be Peter Skoronski. Look, that's definitely an option. Could be Bijan. I don't think that that's out of the question here. Could be JSN, but to me, I think it will be Paris Johnson. You need to get your franchise left tackle. This needs to be about supporting Justin Fields. And when you move back, you get my best tackle in the draft, Paris Johnson, former Ohio State guy protecting a former Ohio State guy. So we'll bring in Paris Johnson there. And then at pick number 10, there's a couple different ways we could go here. And I would say that this is another one of those pivotal picks in the NFL draft. We talked about how number 2 will determine how the rest of the draft will go with the Houston Texans. I would argue here at 10, this will also determine how the rest of the draft goes. Because, yeah, they're probably not going to draft Bijan Robinson. Historically, if you look at the Eagles, they haven't really done that. They've been anti-running back in the first round. But this team has really never been in this position since this, group of people were in place, where there really isn't a clear need across the board, right? Of course, you could fit in certain people, but I think Bijan Robinson is a possibility here. That's not going to be my pick, but I just want to say that this could make the entire draft go a different way. Mock drafts are fun. We're trying to predict the chaos. But at the end of the day, there's only going to take 1 or 2 picks that will change everything and will determine how the rest of the league drafts. So we're going to do the Philly move here, and we're going to build on our strength. We're going to bring in Peter Skoronski, okay? This team ran the ball more than any other NFL team in 2022. He can instantly be a starting guard for this team. And later on, if they need to, he can transition out to tackle if they believe he has that, you know, let's say in his locker, if they believe he's capable of doing so. So here we are at pick number 11, and we have the Tennessee Titans on the board, but we have another trade alert. And the trade is going to be with the New England Patriots. And I know, hold on, just give me a second to explain why I believe that this trade could happen, okay? Because I know there's going to be people who are, the Patriots trade down, the Patriots don't trade up. Well, let me just talk to you guys about this for 1 second, okay? The Patriots are going to be sending pick number 14, and they're going to be sending 14, 76, which is a late third, and 184. They're going to get back 11 and 186, okay? Again, I'm trying to find even values here. They move up 3 spots. Late third is really the price tag and a pick swap. So we're going to make this deal happen. And hanging with me here for a second, okay? So the Packers at 13, they jumped one team, which was the New England Patriots. And I'm trying to wrap my head around why they would do so, okay? The Patriots, again, typically trade down, but they have 10 total picks in this draft, and they do not want to get sniped by the Packers at 13. After all, again, why did the Packers move from 15 to 13? In my opinion, and some of you guys could see this differently, and I hear you because it could be anyone, I think it could be because of Zay Flowers. Hang in with me here for a second. Zay Flowers is a pick at 11, but let's talk about this Flowers and Patriots connection. He reportedly impressed several Patriot staffers at the Shrine Bowl, and the Patriots have a history of drafting players who play in the Shrine Bowl. Not only that, but the Patriots have met with him 4 separate occasions: the Shrine Bowl, the Combine, BC Pro Day, and a top 30 visit. Add on top of that, that he played college ball in Boston College, just, what was it, 20 miles away from Gillette Stadium. This team needs an explosive weapon like Zay Flowers. You no longer have Tom Brady, who can cover your sins and make anyone relevant. You need to adjust to the modern day game. You have no one like Zay in your offense. In this scenario, the Patriots secure Zay before the Packers do at 11. And keep in mind, no one thought Jahan Dotson was going to go as high as he did last year, but we don't know what these organizations are truly thinking. And to me, if it was JSN that the Packers were looking for at 13, in my opinion, the Patriots, unless it's a complete smokescreen, have shown that they are mostly all in on Zay Flowers. So we're going to take Zay Flowers here at pick number 11. And now we have the Raiders up on the clock. The Raiders, remember, they traded down from pick number 7, got some extra draft capital, and they get one hell of a steal in Christian Gonzalez, my cornerback 1 in the class. According to The Ringer, last year, the Raiders became the first team to ever blow 4 double-digit halftime leads in a single season. They need help defensively desperately. They've got Crosby, they got Chandler Jones, even though he underperformed. So I feel like defensive back makes a lot of sense for them. The most physically freak athlete gifted type defensive back in this class, Christian Gonzalez, heads to Las Vegas. And here at 13, the Packers, in my mind, Zay Flowers, unless it was just a bluff, and they called the Patriots bluff, was probably their pick. Or let's just say the original intent of moving up was just to put themselves in a better position to secure one of 2 wide receivers, right? So I know that the Packers haven't historically taken wide receiver in the first round, but the Seahawks, when Russell Wilson left, for the first time in a long time, took offensive line in the first round, right? You know, as Rodgers leaves, you're returning the favor and getting a first round wide receiver for Jordan Love. So this is where Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to go off the board. My wide receiver 1, I believe he should be the first wide receiver off the board, but I'm just trying to put some pieces together here. And when you think about it, Rodgers covered a lot of, the sins, like I mentioned before, like Tom Brady did for the Patriots. Rodgers did that for the Packers. They didn't necessarily need to get him a superstar wide receiver in order for the team to be successful, right? But at this point, you need to give Jordan Love every chance to succeed. You do not want to look like the bozos who sent away Aaron Rodgers, this franchise beloved player, and then the guy that you had replacing him and Jordan Love falls flat on his face. There's different incentives this time, And that's why the Packers go JSN here at pick 13. I think he beautifully complements Christian Watson. I love that core that Jordan Love has to grow with. And here we have the Titans, who remember traded back, and they are sitting on the board with Darnell Wright, tackle out of Tennessee, available. You keep the big body, big mammoth of a man who played at Tennessee. You keep him in the state of Tennessee with the Titans. You lost Taylor Lewan. Offensive line is currently in shambles. So this is your try at fixing that at the very minimum. Okay, at number 15, we have the Green Bay Packers. And the Green Bay Packers, to me, I don't think they were very bothered about moving back. Sorry, you have the New York Jets. The New York Jets, to me, I don't think they were very bothered about moving back 2 picks, because to me, it was always going to be a tackle and whatever tackle was available. And in this scenario, they go Broderick Jones. Jones came in and met with the team on a top 30 visit this month, and they have no idea what they're getting in Mekhi Becton. If he can turn a corner, that's fantastic, and that gives you flexibility on this line. But ultimately, you have to protect Aaron Rodgers. You just kind of sacrificed a little bit of your future for him. Now it's time to keep him upright and allow him to pass the ball. So you got to improve that offensive line. Here we have Washington at 16, and we have another trade alert. And this one is fun. Again, trying to predict the chaos here. Hang in there with me. But we have the Los Angeles Chargers. Where are the Chargers at? I'm trying to find the Chargers here. We got the Los Angeles Chargers. So here's how this is going down. Washington is getting 21. They're getting 85 and 156. And they're sending pick number 16. Again, I did my best to look at NFL draft pick values and try and even them out here. But the Chargers are going to be moving up on the clock. And it might not be exactly what you think they're going to do here. To me, the Chargers need to add a weapon. I think that's clear. And they're worried about either the Lions, Bucks, or Seahawks, one of these teams taking their tight end 1. Or it could be a team below them, let's say the Cowboys or the Bengals, that they're worried might jump ahead of them to take one of these tight ends. For Washington, they moved back 2 years in a row in the first round for a team that's trying to trade up for a weapon. But think about it. Keenan Allen is 31 years old. Mike Williams is soon to be 29. Neither of them can stay healthy. Austin Eckler wants out, and you don't want to pay him. In this scenario, you give Justin Herbert a potential superstar at the tight end position in Dalton Kincaid. Okay, think about this. The Chargers, guys, have been destroyed by who for like the past decade? They've been destroyed by Travis Kelce in their own division for years and years and years now. They want a weapon like that in their offense. Now, of course, is Dalton Kincaid going to be as good as Travis Kelce? That's not what I'm saying, but he could be one of these elite premier receiving tight end threats in the NFL. In my opinion, Kincaid is the best receiving tight end in the class. And I think more and more as the NFL changes, that's what teams are looking for. So Dalton Kincaid is the pick here at 16 to the Chargers. They just want a weapon for Justin Herbert to grow with. And that's going to be Dalton Kincaid there. I think that could be a really fun matchup. Okay, here at number 17, there's a very obvious pick. And there's a pick that I've seen often. But again, like I've said for this entire mock draft, I just don't think things will be as chalked or as straightforward as others believe that it will be. Okay, so I know that we could do Joey Porter Jr. You know, his dad had the legacy there, but in my opinion, I don't like putting the pressure on Joey Porter Jr. to live up to his dad's legacy. Okay, both for the team and for the player, it might be best to allow him to establish himself elsewhere. So here at pick number 17, there's a name that's been picking up steam, and that is Deonte Banks. So we're going to take Deonte Banks. I know the Steelers need offensive line help, but they're going to address that at pick 32, the first pick in the second round. Because there's good options down the board from what I've seen there. So they still get help defensively, but it doesn't look exactly like people think it will, because I just don't think that the NFL draft goes like that. Okay, here at 18, wouldn't you know it? The Chargers might have been onto something, okay? The Lions were prepared to take one of the top tight ends at this pick. Maybe the Chargers stopped them from taking Kincaid, or maybe all along their pick was going to be Michael Mayer. Regardless, Michael Mayer is the pick here. This team, with Aaron Rodgers leaving the NFC North, is ready to pounce, okay? Jameson Williams' suspension definitely puts a little bump in the road. But when you think about it, Mayer not only gives them a receiving threat, but he also brings that tough, gritty, nasty play like Dan Campbell loves to this team. Mayer can help you in the receiving game because he's a great receiver. He can help you in the red zone, and he can help you as a blocker in the rushing game. Think about it, Montgomery and Swift. You bring in Michael Mayer into this offense when Jameson Williams is back, because you're not concerned about him. It's only 6 games. Like, he's still someone you drafted with the 12th overall pick last year. You moved up to do that. But your core of weapons are Amon-Ra St. Brown, J-Mo, Michael Mayer, Monty, and Swift. So you don't overreact where you take a wide receiver in the first round. You need a tight end. You don't have to pay TJ Hawkinson a long-term deal. You get Michael Mayer on a nice little 5-year deal here. And I think he really fits the city of Detroit. And here at 19, man, there's a lot of different ways that the Bucs could go. I mean, there are so many different positions that they could address. And honestly, I thought about a trade back, but there's not one that really made sense in particular for me. So with that being said, outside of Devin Witherspoon, I would say Brian Branch probably has the best film of any defensive back in the class. That's going to be our pick here. Brian Branch, safety. You can play him in the nickel if you want. Tested very poorly, but think about this. The Bucs have 3 safeties with expiring contracts this year. Mike Edwards, Logan Ryan, and Keanu Neal. You could go anywhere here, but I think safety makes sense for team need, and I think he is, it's not a reach in my opinion to take him here at 19. All right, here at number 20, we have the Seattle Seahawks, and I think they've been gifted, you know, one of the steals of the draft so far, and Nolan Smith. And Nolan Smith is one of those players where I could see Nolan Smith going as high as 8 to the Atlanta Falcons, but I don't think the Falcons pass on Witherspoon, right? I could see him going to the Falcons. I could see him going to the Eagles, but it just didn't work out in this scenario. So he ends up being at pick 20 to the Seahawks. He's the perfect fit for this team and everything that they're looking for. Elite athlete, high character, high IQ, high motor team, or player rather. This team lands Anthony Richardson and Nolan Smith in this draft. Dream draft day scenario. The future quarterback on offense and defense, just like we had the Houston Texans do, but it looked a little bit differently. And here we have the Washington Commanders, my Washington Commanders. I like the Commanders and the Chiefs if you don't know, but we got the Commanders on the board here at 21. Remember, they moved back with the Chargers. I honestly, this doesn't have a lot of analysis behind it, but I just can't see Bijan Robinson falling any further than this. And similarly to Nolan Smith, if it's not the Eagles, who is it, right? If the Falcons pass, if the Bears pass, if the Eagles pass, what team? The Packers doesn't make sense. Maybe the Titans if they move on from Derrick Henry. The Jets aren't going to do it. They got Breece Hall. The Steelers have Najee Harris. The Bears just paid for a running back. The Bucs are clearly rebuilding, and it wouldn't make sense to spend a first-round pick on a running back. And the Seahawks have Ken Walker. I mean, unless one of these teams are going to trade up for a running back, which we haven't seen much, I just, like, if Bijan escapes, I think, again, he could go as high as 8 to Atlanta. But if he escapes that, you know, those first, like, 8, 9, 10, I could see him falling into these early 20s. I don't think it's likely, but it's hard to predict exactly where he falls. But think about it this way, okay? Washington and Ron Rivera would be licking their chops with Bijan on the board. A young, unproven quarterback, and Sam Howell's behind center. You could now make an argument that Washington has a top 5 offensive weapon unit in the NFL. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, Bijan Robinson, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. That is one hell of a weaponry room for Sam Howell. You give him everything he needs to succeed on a very cheap contract. We've got a new offensive coordinator in town. Eric Bieniemy makes a splash in this offense. This instantly gives him a piece to center his offense around. If Eric and Ron are on the same page, we could probably see this team run the ball 35 times a game when it gets to November and December. So look, I think Bijan could go way higher than this. He could go to the Commanders at 16. He could go to the Falcons at 8, right? But it was really hard to place him. And more than likely, this is one of the most unrealistic ones where I would say the last two, Nolan and Bijan, probably aren't falling this far. Okay, here at number 22, the Ravens. We talked about how the Steelers didn't want to put too much pressure on Joey Porter Jr. Well, he goes to a rival of his dad's former team in the Baltimore Ravens. Joey Porter joins the flock, if you will. So he ends up going to the Ravens here. In 2022, the Ravens gave up the 9th most passing yards per game. They were consistently getting torched. Outside of Marlon Humphrey, there's a lot of question marks in this secondary. So you need to solidify a day one starter in this draft, and you do that with Joey Porter, one of the best press cover cornerbacks in the entire draft. Here at 23, the Vikings could go a lot of different ways, okay? The obvious pick, which is probably what won't happen because it's too obvious, but the obvious pick and my preference would be Jordan Addison here. Okay, I think Jordan Addison would make a lot of sense with the Vikings, but that's me thinking from my fantasy football mind, and maybe not so much as a complete team perspective, okay? They have a huge hole to fill on their interior defensive line because Dalvin Tomlinson left this team. He was a huge piece. He's gone. This team was bottom 3rd in the NFL in sacks and rushing yards allowed per game, and they lost one of their best defensive linemen. Outside of Jalen Carter, I would say Kalijah Kancey is the only other interior defensive lineman who deserves to go in the first round. So the Vikings are going to address other needs in future rounds, but right here, right now, they need to address that inner defensive line. They're going to get run all over by, think about it, the Lions who have Monty and Swift, the Packers who have Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. And who's the other team in that division? For some reason, I'm blanking. And the Bears, right? Who have Justin Fields and whoever they draft. So, you know, Khalil Herbert, but that's the pick there. And here at 24, we have another trade, okay? It is the Buffalo Bills. I like what PFF is thinking here. Okay, so the Buffalo Bills are going to get pick number 24 here, okay? The Jags in return will get 27, 137, which by the way, that's a 5th. And they're also going to get a 2024 5th round pick to move up 3 spots. Again, trying to stick to true values according to these draft picks, each pick's value. So we're going to make this trade happen. The Buffalo Bills are on the clock, okay? And here, the reason they make this move is because they are worried that the Giants or the Cowboys could draft their target here in the first round, okay? And at this moment, the Buffalo Bills are finally ready to get serious about adding a legit wide receiver 2 in this offense to complement Stephon Diggs. They do that in Jordan Addison. He is the perfect complement to Diggs. Look, Gabe Davis is Gabe Davis. He's not enough for you to go out and actually compete and make your way through the playoffs in this really tough AFC. Jordan Addison joins the squad. He's going to become, along with Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen's best friend. I love this fit for both player and team. Okay, and at number 25, wouldn't you know it, we have back-to-back trade-ups, and this team is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, my favorite teams are the Commanders and Chiefs. I had both of them trade. The Commanders went down. I have the Chiefs here trading up with the Giants. The Chiefs get pick 25. They send pick 31, 95, which is a late 3rd. But we're going to make this deal happen. So they are on the clock here with pick number 25. And for the Giants, think about it this way, guys. They have so many options on the board available to them, but no one that they are in love with. I'm sorry. I've heard no Quentin Johnston hype around the Giants. And my co-host, Badaki, doesn't think that they're going to draft him, right? They have a need at center. Are you really going to take a center at pick 25? They could go offensive line. Like, there's so many ways they could go. They could go defensive back. Who's the clear defensive back here? I don't think Emmanuel Forbes who, best, ball skills probably in the class, but at 166 pounds, are we taking Emmanuel Forbes at 166 pounds in the first round? I don't know. Maybe he does go in the first round and I'm wrong. But for the Chiefs, they trade up here. We keep hearing that there are 2 running backs that will go in the first round. And we hear that smoke day after day. This is where Jahmyr Gibbs is going to go off the board. And maybe I'm having a little bit too fun with this, but here it is. The Chiefs jump the Cowboys and the Bengals, who both were looking for this dynamic weapon in Jahmyr Gibbs, and he lands in Kansas City. We have heard the Chiefs heavily linked to 2 players. Zay Flowers, I don't think they have what it takes to trade up for Zay Flowers. I think he'll go earlier. Number 2, Jahmyr Gibbs. And if you think about it, Jerick McKinnon for this team down the stretch was very important. Gibbs gives you a superstar plus version of what McKinnon was giving you in this offense. He could be catching 70 plus balls in his sophomore season in Kansas City onwards as he, kind of adjusts. But they get their weapon, and all of a sudden, teams are really worried about Jahmyr Gibbs in this backfield. You can put him in the slot. You can, put him out wide. I think he had like 45% of his snaps were receiving routes. So Jahmyr Gibbs is going to head to the Kansas City Chiefs here. And then at pick number 26, the Cowboys miss out on Jahmyr Gibbs. And this is where I think Steve Avila is going to go off the board, the guard out of TCU. And let me just clarify. I want to give a big shout out to my guy Danny from Fantasy Stock Exchange. We had him on a Dynasty Startup mock draft recently, and I asked him, who do you think is a lock for the Cowboys? He says, well, I don't know if this player is going to go first round, but I feel very confident that Steve Avila is going to be a Dallas Cowboy. And the more I looked into it personally, there's a lot of heat. Like, it's not just smoke. There is fire behind this one. If you think about it, Avila brought him for a top 30 visit. He stays in the state of Texas. He fits the bill for this team. They aren't afraid of drafting offensive linemen ahead of the projected, spots for them. They did the same thing last year. We've got Avila, who is 6'4", 332, very compact guard, and he can play multiple positions. At least he did at TCU, right? The Cowboys love that kind of flexibility for their offensive line. There's a lot of question marks around Tyron Smith. Maybe Tyler Smith has to pop out to the left tackle, which would leave a huge hole at left guard. Might be early, but here the Cowboys fill that hole. No one on the board that they're in love with, and they'll take Steve Avila. Okay, here at pick number 27, the Jaguars, we aren't going to make this any more difficult than it needs to be. Anton Harrison, welcome. The trade back works like a charm for this Jaguars team. There's honestly 5 to 6 players that you could justify drafting for them here, and I wouldn't be mad at you. One of the best pass protectors in the class, would definitely give them flexibility on their offensive line. They lost Jawan Taylor to Kansas City. You continue investing in ways to protect your franchise at Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback there in Trevor Lawrence. So we do that with Anton Harrison here. And then at 28, there's some smoke that I believe, there's some smoke that I don't. This is the one that I am the most in the middle about. I truly don't know if this smoke is true or not, but there's some smoke leading up to the draft that Sam Laporta could be drafted ahead of Darnell Washington in the first round. If any team makes sense, to me, it's the Cincinnati Bengals that would make the most sense. So we're going to take Sam Laporta here. And if you think about it, this team is set in almost every position offensively. But you lost Hayden Hurst. You brought in Irv Smith, who's a failed project from Minnesota. I like the player, but he's a failed project from Minnesota who has had injury history, hasn't been able to stay healthy. You had a decent tight end in the blocking game and a very good receiving threat across the middle of the field. As Tyler Boyd ages, you need to kind of continually bring new weapons into the offense. Now, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Sam Laporta, Tyler Boyd, that's one hell of a receiving core for Joe Burrow to grow with. Okay, here at 29, I just want to say that there are a few players where I just didn't know where to put them in. And Lucas Van Ness is that player. Honestly, like I keep seeing people put him in the top 10. I just don't know where to place him. And maybe that's my bad. Maybe that's an overlook from me. I just don't know where to place Lucas Van Ness, truly. So he falls here to the Saints. They get a steal at a position of need here at pick number 29. Okay, here at pick 30, we're at 7 out of 9 trades, guys. So here at pick 30, we're going to make a trade. One of the most unrealistic trades, I would say, that we have put together. But just go ahead and hang in there with me, okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to have the Arizona Cardinals on the phone. And we're going to say, hey, you know, we lost Chauncey Gardner. And all the reports out there, you're looking to move Budda Baker. So why don't you go ahead and give us Budda Baker? We're going to give you pick 30, but we want more. We don't want just Budda, because we have to then pay Budda long-term when you send him to us. He's not on a deal that's team friendly. We're going to have to pay him top money. So we also want pick 96, and we want a future 4th round pick. Okay. Now, maybe that's unrealistic. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Who knows what the deal really looks like? But Budda Baker is better than any defensive back that the Eagles could go out and draft here. They're clearly in a win now window. They went offensive tackle at pick 10. You go for an impact safety, one of the best safeties, top 5, top 10 in the NFL. You go ahead and get Budda Baker on the team. And now the Cardinals are on the clock. They don't have to pay him long-term as they're rebuilding. Budda Baker, who wants to win a championship, can focus on doing that after he's paid in Philadelphia. So you lose Gardner Johnson, but you add Budda Baker. Here at 30, the Cardinals are on the clock. And wouldn't you know it, Quentin Johnson is sitting right there. And they're saying, we don't need Quentin Johnson to be a superstar from day one. He can take his time. You know, we feel confident about developing his talent, allowing our coaching staff to get him where he needs to be by the time Kyler Murray is good, well, and ready to go. And obviously, let's say in day 2, that's when the Cardinals go out and trade D-Hop, and they get those 3rd round picks back that they sent off in the deal. And now you have an incredible weapon room for Kyler when he comes back. Hollywood Brown, Quentin Johnston, Rondale Moore, Trey McBride. Quentin Johnston sneaks into the 1st round there, and that is our 6th out of 7 trades. Or sorry, that's our 8 out of 9 trades. And trade number 9, we have the New York Giants. And I'm sorry, Giants fans, but honestly, who the hell do you draft here? There's so many options. I could genuinely choose like 10 players right here, and you can make a legit case as to why that person should be drafted. What does that sound like to me? That sounds like a double trade back. So we're going to trade back again. And the team that we're trading back with, it's just 2 picks to the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay. So the Giants, they're going to give pick 31. The Raiders are going to give pick 33, which they acquired in the trade back with Houston for the Tyree Wilson deal. They're going to give pick 144 and 174. Those are 2 5th round picks. And we're going to make the deal happen here. And who is the pick? Come on, why would we trade up in the 1st round other than to get a quarterback? And that quarterback is Hendon Hooker. So yes, the Raiders miss out on quarterback here with, you know, all those quarterbacks going ahead. But in this scenario, they still get Hendon Hooker. He can sit behind Jimmy G, and maybe he can develop for this team. But you still have the Giants, who are 1 pick away now, and still incredible options on the board. You might not like this if you're a Giants fan, but think about it. You've done the player that you could have drafted at 25 is probably still available at 33. You just got extra picks. So that is my 1st round. Let's be real for a second. Are these trades all realistic, and will they all happen? No. But what I wanted to do is bring realism from the fact that it's not going to be chalked. It's not going to be pick 1 to 31. Everything is exactly hunky-dory as it seems. There will be chaos. There will be trades. There will be players moved. No one thought Tyreek or AJ Brown would be moved last year. It's going to be craziness. And I wanted to kind of contribute to some of the chaos and tell you how I think the NFL draft could pan out. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. do me a massive favor, drop a like to show some support, subscribe if you like Dynasty content, and if you want to be ready to dominate your Dynasty rookie drafts, listen to what these guys are about to say. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.